Train travel. Once a more civilized form of transportation, from a more romantic time. A bygone era in American history? Maybe not. The jumping off point to these great journeys was the train station. Think of all the great stations and depots in the world. Grand Central, Victoria, Gare du Nord, all central to their cities and all architectural masterpieces.
The same is true here in Minnesota, where a recent remodel has revived a historical icon.
Not only is this a transit hub for the Twin Cities, it is a hidden architectural gem.
That's right. On this episode of Wayfarers, we're here at downtown St. Paul for a half-day trip to uncover Mickey's Diner, the Minnesota Transportation Museum, and yes, Union Depot. Union Depot is one of two depots in the Twin Cities area. The other one's just over the river in Minneapolis, and it's now an ice rink.
And it's a good job this thing here is not a fast food joint. With the vaulted ceilings, it looks like something out of a Prohibition-era gangster flick.
And like every good story, our story begins in fire.
9 railways met at the original Union Depot when fire broke out and completely destroyed the tiny outpost. Shortly after, the St. Paul Union Depot Company dreamed up a magnificent replacement. The station had 10 platforms and 21 passenger tracks. 8 of the tracks ended at Union Depot. The architectural style is very structurally sound, incorporating several layers of tiles laid out in a herringbone pattern. It was the 3rd largest mail handling station behind New York and Chicago in its time. Minnesota's young men and women left here to go to war. But after the advent of affordable bus travel, numbers dwindled, and the depot closed in 1971.
Like most great American buildings from this era, the 70s and 80s took a huge stinking dump on Union Depot. The building fell into disrepair, and the only bright spot was that it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1974. From what I understand, many businesses opened and closed in the head house. Redevelopment schemes were discussed in intervening years, but none came to fruition.
Now that wasn't the end of the line for this great building. In 2005, the Regional Railroad Authority began buying up the depot and some adjacent property.
So what did they do to bring this baby back to life?
Well, they started by cleaning it, which was no easy task. Also, they made modern upgrades. The entire plaster ceiling was redone. Windows were modernized, just to name a few.
I also saw an Amtrak stop and bus connection, not to mention a shiny new Metro light rail.
The Metro rail line connects the Capitol, University of Minnesota, and downtown Minneapolis, and tons of other attractions.
Awesome! One of the things I've noticed about American cities is their newfound focus on the city centre. While that type of revitalization happened in Europe in the 50s, it's finally made its way to the United States in full force.
If you're a train enthusiast, head 1 mile north of downtown St. Paul to the Minnesota Transportation Museum. There you will find a fun, kid-friendly atmosphere with dozens of installations. The museum is based around an old roundhouse, and though it is called the Transportation Museum, most of the focus is on trains. To punctuate your day trip to St. Paul, visit the famous Mickey's Diner for some classic American food in a homey and familiar setting, made popular by some Hollywood films. Whatever your preference, St. Paul is worth the visit.